podcast. On the latest episode of The Chat, we break down some of the Patriots head coaching interviews they brought in, like a Pep Hamilton and Byron Leftwich. We talk about the latest for Antonio Pierce, along with the rest of the NFL, and Sean McGuire joins the show as well to talk about what Devon Godshaw, Pop Douglas, Dietrich Wise have shared with him and their reaction to the firing of Drake Maye. What makes the Patriots head coaching vacancy be such a solid landing spot for all the candidates out there? That's Boston's End of The Chat. New episodes dropping every day of the week, wherever you get your podcasts, and on Nessun's YouTube page as well. Now, let's get to Rush. What's up? Welcome in. It's Foxborough Rush. I'm George Balekji. He's Travis Thomas. T, how we doing today, my man?
I'm doing great, man. I am excited for a new head coach of the Patriots.
Yep. New regime. Because last episode was all the raw reaction of Drake Maye being fired just a mere 90 minutes after the game.
That's
now,
right.
dust has settled. Robert Kraft has spoken. We know what the Patriots are looking for in a head coach, but also some question marks surrounding the front office. We'll get into all that with Robert Kraft's comments. We'll also have Lucy Burge later on in the show joining us to give out some of her favorite wild card weekend bets in the NFL. But first off, Trav, let's start out with Robert Kraft on Monday afternoon, talking to the media, talking to the public. And one thing that jumped out, man, you can tell he felt every ounce of this firing.
Yeah.
For all the owners out there in sports, everything is cold, everything is business, everything's nasty work.
Yep.
No. You heard it in Robert Kraft's voice. We know the accountability he opened up with. You'll hear that later. But this one cut deep for him. This one hurt. Was not an easy decision at all for him to fire Drake Maye, but it was the right decision, and that's what makes it all that more impressive from Robert Kraft to own it and do it.
Brother, I mean, I find myself, since all of this has taken place, defending Robert Kraft. That's how that's how much I believe that he's hurt. People saying, well, you shouldn't have hired Mayo in the first place. Okay, you have a leg to stand on there. But let's give the guy some credit here for taking accountability, responsibility, and saying I made a mistake. Any of us can learn from that. Hell. So I give Kraft credit there. Here's where I defend him, George. People saying, oh, those were, crocodile tears. He's not really that hurt. If he was that hurt and he and Drake Maye were that tight, he wouldn't have fired him. No. Okay? Like, relax. I think they are that tight, and I think that emotion is real. And one thing in particular, I know we'll play the soundbite, but one thing in particular that I appreciate from Kraft is not just taking the accountability of making the hire, but the biggest thing is, to me, I did not set Gerard up for success. And that's where the hurt is, I think. You and I are tight, brother. If you wooed me to Nessun or vice versa, and then you got here and I wasn't there with you, alongside you, like we are, but if I wasn't and you were struggling or I was struggling, vice versa, and I mean, I would feel terrible about that, and I know you would. So I think that's some of this. It's just like, yeah, we are tight. Yes, I wanted him to be here. He was a succession plan, but he wasn't ready, and I didn't set him up for success. That's the pain, because he knows he did his boy wrong. Yeah,
exactly. And you want to do right by your people at the very minimum, and he didn't do him any solids. Here's a soundbite right here. Robert Kraft opening up his press conference with, man, a bucket, not an ounce, a bucket of accountability.
I'm going to be very brief here and say this whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Gerard because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job. In the end, I'm a fan of this team first, and now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships.
You hear it right there.
Yeah.
I mean, he wore it, and now he's making his motive, his mission from this point on well known. And Robert Kraft's always said that I have expectations for us to be back in the playoffs, back competing. He knows how poorly he handled the last offseason. And Drake Maye always said, no repeat offenders. You hope Robert Kraft will not be a repeat offender.
Yeah, well, look, that's another thing I guess I find myself kind of sort of defending Robert Kraft because he could be a repeat offender in hiring a rookie head coach. And I don't want him to look at the Drake Maye experience and be a little hesitant to go down that path again of a rookie head coach. I am all about, and I know you and I are going to get into it, so let's do it now. I am all about Ben Johnson. And it's not to say that I'm anti-Vrabel. Let's just all put this out here now. Captain Obvious has entered the chat, okay? We all can agree Vrabel or Ben Johnson is an upgrade at the head coach position. I don't think there's a lose here. I think it's a win-win of these two candidates, George. However, I know a lot of people just feel like, well, let's not get another rookie head coach. It's not the same. Drake Maye was not ready. Drake Maye had no groceries other than Drake Maye and Gonzo, to make a delicious meal here, okay? So you don't have experience and you don't have the talent. You are doomed. How's that sound? And that's what played out. Ben Johnson has coaching experience.
Oh, yeah.
The requisite amount to now take that next step and to level up. He is ready, to use Robert Kraft's words, right? Drake Maye wasn't ready. Ben Johnson's ready. He was probably ready last season, and he was smart to stay. So it's not the same here. That's the thing. I think because Drake Maye was such a disaster, people are like, oh, who wants a rookie head coach again? Go get Vrabel. That's the wrong reasoning. If you want Vrabel because he knows the Patriot way, if you want Vrabel because you wanted him a year ago like George did, if you want Vrabel because he knows the culture and then fine. Or you think he's a great coach, fine. He got a raw deal in Tennessee, whatever. No problem there. But don't just want him because you don't want a rookie head coach again. I think that's a mistake. I think this Ben Johnson guy's ready. George, I think Ben Johnson and his offensive mind brings you into the present day.
Yeah.
I think Ben Johnson and Drake Maye work, and then you have cash, a top 5 pick. This is not going to be the cupboards are bare like Bill left it. Bill left the house, and there was nothing to eat. You open the fridge, it was a box of baking soda and a half-drank water. Like, I mean, Ben Johnson, if he's the guy, is going to have some things to work with here, I believe. So don't just run with this. We don't want another rookie head coach thing. That'll be a mistake if you're talking about Ben Johnson specifically.
Look, this is the most pivotal offseason in the history of the Patriots.
Yeah.
They have the next franchise quarterback for them. From what we've seen from the sample size of not even a full season, but from his rookie season, but how good that Drake Maye looked. They have all the cap space. They have an owner that, as you have heard, is embracing and owning that he made a mistake and he needs to do it right now. And he owes it to himself, the team, and most importantly to the fans, because he still feels, thinks, acts like a fan. Which could be to a fault sometimes, but for him, it's a good thing. Ben Johnson being a rookie coach is not the same as the rookie head coach that Patriots fans just saw. 14 years experience in the NFL, did everything. Quarterback coach, wide receiver, tight end, quality control, passing game coordinator, offensive coordinator. And he's been leading one of the best offenses in the NFL these last 3 seasons. And what is it all about? And why would an offensive-minded head coach be important? For your quarterback.
Yep.
Look at what he's done for Jared Goff. When under pressure, he hasn't been the best. But it's when blitzed, completion percentage of 71%. When not blitzed, 74%. NFL passer rating, right there, basically the same. Blitzed versus not blitzed. He has him thinking quick, deciding quick, making big-time decisions, and still making big throws. And he's been setting him up where Jared Goff, some of his best games, come off of play action as well. That helps his quarterback absolutely thrive. Drake Maye doesn't need the play action to help him, but let's not overdo it. I mean, he's going to be a second-year pro come this time next season. And what Ben Johnson witnessed in Detroit, too, is how to build a football team. Front to back, inside out. Offensive line, great run game, and go get good receivers. And look at the value of the receivers they've gotten. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a 4th-round pick. Jamison Williams took him a while to come along, but he's been there. Tim Patrick, getting the most out of him. a duo in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery that's been absolutely dominating games. But overall, what he does with Jared Goff, to have a guy that was a cast-off that Sean McVay said, I'm good. I don't think he's going to work. And what Ben Johnson's built him up to do, where at one point he was looking like an MVP in the league, Trav.
Yeah.
He did that with Jared Goff.
Yep.
Imagine what he can do with Drake Maye. Bigger arm, better processing speed, much more athletic. Imagine what this offensive playbook would look like. And yes, it feels like a Hail Mary if you go with the first-time head coach in Ben Johnson. At one point, Sean McVay was seen as a, really? That guy? That young? Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell. At one point, they were the young offensive minds. Ben Johnson's that guy. And again, in the most pivotal offseason in the history of the Patriots, yes, Mike Vrabel has a really high floor, but Ben Johnson's potential and what he could be, the ceiling, oh my God, is unmatched. Yeah. And what the Patriots get, if Ben Johnson is the guy, Trav, that playbook, that lingo, that system never leaves. It's what the Rams, the Packers, the 49ers, the Vikings all have, just to name a few. And that's what the Patriots would have.
By the way, your guy Kevin O'Connell, too, another one.
Love
another
Kevin
young
O'Connell.
guy. So, all right, you said imagine what Ben Johnson as a head coach would look like with Drake Maye and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, we both know, before I even state this and put this out there, you and I and the audience, we all know that this current roster is going to be upgraded. It's not going to be this bad next season. But for the sake of the conversation, stay with me. Let's take this current roster that Jerod Mayo just had, and let's imagine then, George. I'll ask you two questions. One, if Ben Johnson is a coach of this current Patriots roster and current team that Jerod Mayo had to deal with, how many games does he win?
If it was this past season?
Yes.
Drake Maye is a rookie?
Yes. And if Mike Vrabel, same question. Because we obviously know there would be a slight improvement, but we also know the roster is garbage outside of a couple guys. So let's imagine Ben Johnson with Drake Maye's skill set and what we saw, and it was never really maximized. And, and look, it's a perfect storm. We can all acknowledge that. Some of it's roster deficiency, but some of it is play calling and what the hell are we doing, right? And same with Vrabel. How many games would you – let's start with Ben Johnson since we're talking about him. How many games would Ben Johnson have won this past season, do you think?
They finished with 4 wins.
Right. What does he improve you?
7. They're beating Seattle.
So you're 3 games better.
Alex Van Pelt completely mishandled Seattle right before the half. And again, that was a game decided in overtime. And the whole offense hit a wall in the second half when Seattle figured out how to cover Hunter Henry. I'd assume, Ben Johnson can do more than flourish with just one tight end. They beat Miami. Remember 15-10 the final? Remember when the Patriots were running the ball down the Dolphins' throat and they decided to stop running the ball when it mattered most? So they beat the Dolphins. I'd give them that. They just need 17 points at that point. And then let me toss it up. Let me give him the Tennessee game. Because what was my issue with that whole Tennessee thing?
Sure.
Drake Maye with the miracles and all that. It was the Patriots burning a timeout when they didn't need to because they didn't have a timeout when they needed it most because they could have gone for 2 instead of putting it to overtime. And I would bank on Ben Johnson finding a win there. So I would give him – I really confidently give him 2 more wins. I'd give him 6 wins.
Yeah, that's where I'm
But
at.
I think he can find him 3. With Mike Vrabel in that, I mean – just think about the Colts game alone. Like, Anthony Richardson put together, 19 plays, 80 yards?
Yes.
And on passing plays, throwing a game-tying touchdown.
Didn't they get a 2-point conversion?
And they got the 2 point. You think Mike Vrabel is going to let a defense let that happen?
Hell no.
Think about when the defense has let this team down in certain games as well.
Yeah.
So, with both of them, I think the floor would have been 6 wins. And I'd give them, This roster is still bad.
You have them both at 7-ish, 6-7 range?
And 7 wins with this roster, no offensive tackles.
Great coaching job.
No run defense.
Great coaching job.
Undersized secondary.
Yes.
No good receivers outside of Pop Douglas.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, in secondary, Jonathan Jones, you got leaders, man. Christian Gonzalez, we know what he is. Jabril Peppers, when he's on the field. 6 or 7 wins with this roster would have been outstanding. And keep in mind, Jerod Mayo got a 4th win with Sean McDermott literally giving it to him.
Right.
Oh, I think who was?
Mike White?
Well, no, it was Demontre Jacobs on that really long completion. Unreal pass by Joe Milton.
Yeah.
Demontre Jacobs nullified the play. Sean McDermott didn't accept it. He declined it. So Joey Sly kicked the field goal. And then down 4, 3.5 minutes left. You have 2 timeouts. It's 4th and 8. The Bills punted it. The Bills were down 4, guys.
Yes.
That's what Gerard Mayo needed to get a 4th win.
You're being kind, because I am still convinced that Mike White, is that his name, was shaven. He was point shaven with some of them throws that I saw. Look, I asked you a question. My answer is I'll give Vrabel the benefit of the doubt because of the experience, even though I just waxed poetic about how don't be so turned off by a rookie head coach. It was just Gerard Mayo was not the right person. With that being said, with this current roster, I would give Vrabel 7 wins. That's where I'm at with it. For Ben Johnson, it's not far off. 6 wins, 5, 6 wins. He's only going to improve them 1 or 2 games. The difference, though, I think, Vrabel would have been able to maximize whatever you did have. Squeeze the juice out of whatever you did have roster-wise. I'll give him 7. But Ben Johnson, although I don't think the wins would be there, 5 or 6 again for him, I do think the difference, and a big difference, would be you would have something offensively that emerged as a weapon, bona fide, a Pop Douglas or something, or a potential weapon. You would have looked at these young guys in Polk and Baker and said, you know what? Both of them can play, or one of them can play, or whatever. You would have got something,
maybe,
George. I believe that. I think Ben Johnson's innovative enough. We would be entering this offseason, because right now we're just saying Drake Maye and Gonzo. But I think we would have gone into this offseason, hypothetically, of course, saying, hey, Drake Maye and such can play offensively. Let's continue to build around them. You probably maybe would have had a different scheme, George, to not illustrate how putrid your offensive line is. Maybe Drake Maye's getting rid of it quick, rhythm passing. I just think there would have been something to take away positively, offensively, from this season, even if you only won 1 more game or 2 more games, right?
Well, think about it. If Ben Johnson's the head coach, you don't have Tyler Hughes as your wide receivers coach.
That's right.
You got Ben Johnson.
Guys are getting developed.
Exactly. Developing your receivers, developing your running backs. Like Ramondre Stevenson, good. Clean up the fumbling, and that's a solid back you'd want. Right. And you'd have some more. Real quick, Trev. The interviews Patriots are lined up for. Obviously, Ben Johnson, which is big. Mike Vrabel, that'll be on Thursday. Pep Hamilton, Byron Leftwich. They've been interviewed for the head coaching role. Byron Leftwich hasn't coached in 2 years. Pep Hamilton, the same. Both black. We saw this, you and I go, that's the Rooney rule.
It is.
What did you make of that? Do you think those are sham interviews, or do you think?
Of course they are. It ticks me off every year, George, and you know that you it's a dog and pony show. You parade these guys in, you give them these interviews, and you know you're not going to hire them. So that side of it ticks me off every year. Every year. However, it is beneficial for the potential coach because you are getting interviewed. Your name is, in the algorithm in terms of hiring, right? Hiring cycle. Hey, we're bringing in this guy. That keeps your name popping. That keeps you like teams are looking at you. And you always bring this up, and you're absolutely right. We know damn well these guys aren't getting a head coaching job, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're not getting a job within the organization. So that side of it, I obviously like. But it's just so painful. I mean, you just bring these guys in, there's no shot at it. And it really ticks me off. But I am encouraged by Aaron Glenn in Detroit doing his job. Brian Flores, my God, doing his job in Minnesota. We are going to get some more black head coaches in this league. It's coming. But these bring these guys in for the interviews. I do think it benefits the candidate, but I just hate that damn well it's not going to happen. And George, some of these interviews are absolute kick-ass, complete grand slam interviews, and it doesn't even matter in terms of the head coaching job. And so you just kind of leave that on the cutting room floor. And I don't like it.
But I'll say this. Like Mike Vrabel is most likely option 1 in Robert Kraft's eyes.
Yes.
You bring in Byron Leftwich. Played for 10 years, 11 years in the league. Offensive coordinator with the Buccaneers for 4 years. Won a Super Bowl. Learned from Bruce Arians. Was he seriously brought in as a head coaching candidate? Likely not. But if you hire Mike Vrabel, who's that offensive mind we just met with? Byron Leftwich.
That's right.
So to your point, a job can lead to a job.
You can get a job.
Pep Hamilton's such a unique name in all of coaching because I remember when he was with Michigan in 2017, where he was an assistant head coach and passing game coordinator, assistant head coach to Jim Harbaugh.
That's right.
And he was dealing with Shea Patterson, and I think it was Brandon Peters, who ended up at Illinois. Absolutely dog
I think you're
at
right.
quarterback.
I think you're right.
And he was finding ways for the passing game to win them games. When he was with the Chargers as a quarterbacks coach in 2020, Justin Herbert's rookie season, look at the year he had.
Tyrod
Herbert
was
became
balling
Herbert.
that year too. Remember?
And Tyrod Taylor went good too.
Yep.
And he was also a passing game coordinator with the Texans and an OC. Pep Hamilton as a quarterback coach, I love that.
I do too.
The Patriots need everything right now. Byron Leftwich potentially as a QB coach, I'd love that.
Me too.
So, especially if you hire Mike Vrabel, who's the offensive staff going to be? That's what's so important. Because I look at the OCs out there, the Clint Kubiaks, the Thomas Browns, the Wes Phillips, Josh McDaniels, Tanner Engstrand, Nick Caley. Like, those names are going to come out. That's what's important. If it is Vrabel, which I'm for, I know we went in on why Ben Johnson could be the guy. Look, man, Mike Vrabel, 6 years of head coaching experience. The Titans always overachieving. Familiarity, of course, with ownership and the Patriots. He wants all that. That's what's substantial. This was Rooney Rule, but it doesn't mean it's a dead end for Pep Hamilton or Byron Leftwich, and I think that's important.
Well said, brother.
Hey, if you're enjoying the conversation, be sure to check out NESN's daily sports show called Boston is Enter the Chat. We talk about all things Boston sports on the show, as well as other various sports topics trending around the country, available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Now, we know the attention's on the head coach, Trav. Tension, which I've been banging the drum for. I know you have too.
Yeah, you're damn right.
But here's my thing. Anytime you're looking for a head coach, I always go, but who is your general manager?
Yes, you do.
And Robert Kraft raised some eyebrows when asked about Elliot Wolf and his standing with the franchise, because Alonzo Highsmith, who's an executive in the personnel department, and Elliot Wolf, who's their executive vice president of the personnel department, will be in the interviews and conducting interviews, helping them with the process for a head coach. But here's Robert Kraft on where he sees Elliot Wolf in the whole ecosystem of the Patriots and football.
No, we are looking for people working together, and they will be staying on.
We're looking for people that will be working together. He will be staying on. Now,
Simple.
Trav.
Simple.
I want to say this quick. If people are going Mike Vrabel, and he's not going to want to work with Elliot Wolf. Mike Vrabel in an athletic feature where they interviewed him at like a dive bar in Nashville, which I think is fantastic.
So Vrabel.
What he wants is clear and open communication with ownership.
Yeah.
You'll get that with the Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
Collaboration with ownership and the general manager. You'll get that.
Check.
Good quarterback. Definitely a check.
Check.
Now, there is that alarm, and I know a lot of people's alarms went off in their heads. What? You're going to do what? Here's my thing, Trav. This is what I'm thinking in this. You can't just go out and burn down the personnel department. Now, I said, I did, and I have been saying, and I still stand by it, I need more than a new head coach. I need full-on investment in a new coaching staff, or what that new head coach wants. And I need full-on investment in the leadership of football operations. Personnel, football ops, culture, everything, football decisions. I don't think Elliot Wolf's necessarily going to go anywhere. The scouts won't go anywhere, because you can't just burn all your filing cabinets. You can't just burn down the building with all the information you need. Because the second the draft ends, preparation for the following draft begins. And all season long, Elliot Wolf and his staff know what this Patriots team needs the most. And it takes a while to move away from the old ways, the old guard of the Bill Belichick way, into the new way. If you fire everyone, if you clear them out, it's going to take a while to get a new front office up to speed. With him saying that, he wants everyone to work together. He didn't say, I want them to work for Elliot Wolf. I think a new general manager comes in, and Elliot Wolf is told, hey, this is your new boss, and he's given the option. Hey, title change, new leadership, you can stay, Elliot, or you can go. And that's how it's going to go. Because if a Ben Johnson is serious, he has a GM in mind. If a Mike Vrabel is serious,
too.
he has a G. Exactly. They have a GM in mind.
Yes.
You cannot force partnerships in a front office. The reason Mike Vrabel got fired from the Titans is because he was butting heads with Rand Carthen. Rand Carthen just got fired.
Gone.
Bad ownership.
Yep. And they kept the coach.
You can't do
So that tells you
and
everything.
they kept Callahan. You can't do the BS of arranged marriages, man.
Yeah.
What the beauty of a good and fruitful relationship in life is there's a natural cohesion and like-minded thinking. And in a way, you're each other's better halves. Where I come up short, they come up big. That's what you need with the GM and head coach. You cannot force it. And again, Robert Kraft is serious. He knows where he's messed up. If a Vrabel or a Ben Johnson comes in, they will listen to them.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, kinda. The only thing I disagree with a bit is that you said you can't burn down an entire personnel department. Okay, true, but you can damn sure set ablaze to the leader of it. So my thing is, why even demote? Because that's what you're talking about. Let's call it what it is. Why even demote Elliott Wolf? Like, just get him out of here then. Get him out of here with Mayo. You should have already did that.
He knows where everything is. Like literally, like the information, what this team needs.
But if you're bringing in a GM, which it sounds like what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
Either one of these coaches.
It's a lot of information, man. It's not simple.
But I'm saying either one of these coaches we're talking about is going to want their guy.
Yeah.
We agree on this.
Yeah.
Hey, man, they know where stuff is too. It might be on a different team, and they got to learn. But that's why you don't burn down the personnel department. There are people there that can help them get acclimated, and they'll be fine.
Yeah.
All these guys who Vrabel would want, who Ben Johnson would want, even though Ben Johnson's a rookie head coach, whoever he wants as a GM is going to have experience. So you got to move. I'm not with the demotion stuff. Now, we'll see if Elliott Wolf is, because if you're right – and he kind of acquiesces, and he's like, yeah, I'm good. I just want to be here. And then some new, hot shot comes in and is the GM. Okay. All right. Well, then maybe you're right, George. And that tells me more about Elliott Wolf than it does anyone else. But my thing is, if I'm the Crafts, he would already been gone, bro. I'm sorry. Him and Mayo and the staff are gone. The personnel department, okay, fine, but we're going to have a new leader, and they're going to come in, and they're going to give you the vision, and you're going to help them get acclimated. Everything that concerns you, George, where is everything, all the information, help the new guy with that, okay?
Yeah.
And then when we get to the draft, do better than the last guy, because I can't give you Drake Maye. That was Avi.
Yeah.
The rest of your draft was ass.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just like, why run that back? How do you look at that draft that you just had and the season that you just had where these picks needed to be contributors, and you got a nothing burger outside of the obvious choice that any of us would have made? And then decide to run that back? Hell to the no. I think Elliott Wolf already should have been gone.
Look, if they bring in a new head coach, they bring in a new GM, it's simple. Elliott, we're going to do it my way, or you can leave. That's it.
Well,
and that's what it's going to be.
We'll find out.
It's very different. The timeline of coaches is once the season ends, it's contracts.
Yeah.
Timeline of general managers runs through the draft.
Sure.
That's why it was even unique with, you go back last offseason, remember Robert Kraft's like, I haven't decided anything with personnel. I'm going to decide after the draft. Contract is up with Elliott Wolf. Maybe Robert Kraft being a businessman. He goes, I'm not going to give out titles.
Right.
I'm not going to give you leverage. I'm going to pay you what I'm going to pay you. The interesting thing in all this, like Ben Johnson interviewing with the Patriots, Albert Breer reported that is tied to the respect Elliott Wolf garners around the league.
Of course.
Take that for what it is.
That last
name. Take it for what it is. Ron Wolf's son, the Packers way, and all that. It's right there when Albert Breer said he doesn't think Ben Johnson would take an interview there if it was a sham search. Vrabel's a favorite, but post-Belichick, they set it up so Elliott Wolf and the head coach would both report to ownership. I'd expect it to stay that way. And then he did add, this shows the amount of respect Elliott Wolf gets around the league.
Yeah. I mean, that last name carries weight, obviously. He has the experience, obviously. And look, you and I are talking like the draft because we're draft nerds and all that. But you got to spend this money too, don't you? I mean, dude. So it's one thing. Your draft was not great, but then like
you didn't spend it well.
You have money. You had money last offseason, and you couldn't land. They went. My issue at last offseason, and it's easy to say this now.
Yeah.
Hindsight being what it is, right? My issue was they went big game hunting, which you are supposed to do. But the great GMs in this league, and George, you know this more than anyone. I call you GM George. Like, you love this stuff. The great GMs, and you talk about this with the draft a lot. Of course, you need to hit on your first round and your second round. But drafts are won late. It's the same with free agency. Yes, we won Calvin Ridley last offseason. That's big game hunting. But what are you doing on day 2 and 3 and more of free agency? That's where you fill out the roster. All I saw was a bunch of re-signing of young players, your core guys. Okay. You didn't want to pay Judon, which was weird to me. You didn't want to. I think you got to move on, brother. And I know you're going to talk about spending, but that's part of this too, George. It's not just a draft. What can you do for me with free agency? How do you have all this money and you can't get anything done? I don't want to run that back.
I got 2 names for you. Ray Agnew, Mike Borgonzi.
Fine. Check.
Ray Agnew, assistant general manager of the Lions. Been in that role since 2021.
Yeah.
You talk about hitting late in the draft. Ali McNeil, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Come on.
I'm going beyond the first rounders because the Penei Sewells, the Aiden Hutchinsons, he's been around when they drafted. Those are the obvious choices.
But those were obvious.
The Kirby Josephs, the Sam Laportas, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell. Ooh. Jack Campbell and Brian Branch were both they were looked at as reaches, as was Jahmyr Gibbs in that draft.
That's right.
But they were like, well, we don't know the position, off-ball linebacker.
Yeah.
Brian Branch, is he a corner? Is he a safety?
Yeah.
They've been some of the best at their position.
Even Gibbs was a first-round running back. You never do that. He's a stud.
But the way they built the offensive line.
Yes.
Then we talk about the free agency. This year alone, signed DJ Reader, helped out that defense. They're injured now. Signed Kevin Zeitler because they lost Jonah Jackson, correcting mistakes. Retained Graham Glasnow. That's big. Like the extensions they give out.
Yep.
2023, they signed David Montgomery. 2021, Alex Anzalone came in on a 1-year deal. He signed another 1-year deal, then a 3-year deal. That is what Ray Agnew has put together for this Lions team. Mike Borgonzi, been with the Chiefs since 2009, rose through the ranks with the Brett Veach. And he's been a scout, football ops, director of pro scouting, director of player personnel, now assistant GM. And same thing, think about the way that they've drafted. The Creed Humphreys, the Trey Smiths, starting offensive linemen for them who are exceptional, that were late round picks. The Leo Chenals, Isaiah Pacheco, a 7th rounder out of Rutgers. Chamari Connor, one of the better secondary players outside of Trent McDuffie for this defense, which is championship caliber level.
Yep.
He does all that. Look at the free agency again. Mike Dano with an extension.
Yep.
He re-signed the defensive line pretty much. Figured out how to pay Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. Figured out how to keep them all together. Goes out and gets Hollywood Brown. Yes, he was injured. His 2 games, averaging over 10 yards a catch. 2.68 yards per route run. That is efficient. That is explosive. That is important to an offense. Went out, signed Drew Tranquill, and that led to an extension. And these are extensions that are hitting. These aren't the extensions that don't work out like we've seen in New England. And here's a big thing. Mike Borgonzi did an interview with Phil Perry back in 2023, asked about the Patriots because, Trav, I ignored all this. Mike Borgonzi is from Everett. He's from Massachusetts. His wife is from North Reading.
Local.
He's in his 50s. He was asked about a Patriots job. Last offseason, Mike Borgonzi said, that's a dream job. You get to go in there and kind of shape your own vision and what you want the organization to look like. That's a dream job for a personnel guy. His dad was a season ticket holder with the Patriots for 20 years. This is a guy that's ready to lead his own front office.
Yes.
I'm surprised he hasn't been poached from the Chiefs yet. But a job like this with a franchise quarterback, with the cap space, you know, and he says it right there, the dream job, I get to shape it. I get to bring the Patriots back to championship caliber levels. If a Mike Borgonzi or Ray Agnew are interested in your job, and you're Robert Kraft, and a Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson sign off on that, you do it without thinking twice.
I agree. And by the way, just to kind of bring it back full circle here, to your point, if Elliott Wolf doesn't sort of want to, pun intended here, play ball with that, okay, then get to stepping. Because I love every single scenario you just laid out with either guy. I'm fine with it. But one thing I think you and I agree with is, you know, either one of these coaches is going to want their guy. So I just don't understand how Elliott Wolf's going to fit into this, which is why I would have given all these coaches and Elliott Wolf their walking papers along with Drake Maye. I just don't know how you're going to make it all work. It seems like Robert Kraft, he's so hurt from the Drake Maye. Oh, my friend. Oh, I'm so like, bro, like get your feelings out of here. This you're a businessman. You got a football. There are empty seats in your building, brother.
Yeah.
You gotta get these guys out of here. There's no feelings in this stuff. It ain't personal. It's just business.
And this is Elliott Wolf, to your point. Just look at his free agency leading the front office. Chuks Okorafor, career right tackle in the NFL, went AWOL. Antonio Gibson, good, wasn't used too much, but when used was all right.
He was all right.
Jacoby Brissett lost his job. Sione Takitaki, never healthy. Jalen Reagor, cut by the team. Austin Hooper, good signing. Nick Leverett, cut. KJ Osborne, cut.
Right.
Jalen Hawkins, okay.
Awful.
The extensions, Kyle Duggar, Hunter Henry, Mike Onwenu, Anthony Jennings, solid extensions, but You need more when it comes to the spending. And Robert Kraft said, we'll spend. He said, over 3 years, I expect it to level out. No, you got to be 100% serious if you're Robert Kraft. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to check out Foxborough Rush every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all things Patriots football. With Drake Maye being fired, the Patriots picking number 4 overall, it's going to be a busy offseason. Available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Twitch, wherever else you get your podcast. And if you're on NESN's YouTube page, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well. Now, the Drake Maye firing has been something fans have been asking for weeks. I mean, parking lot before the Chargers game was basically empty. I can only imagine for that Bills finale of the regular season. As they won, they were booed. We saw the reaction from players.
Yeah.
Where they were saying they love Mayo, but long-term, a lot of the players, saw dysfunction. You see right there on your screen, Demario Douglas and how he would feel if Drake Maye was fired. I'd be hurt. He's a good coach. It's his first year with a lot of young players. That was 20 minutes before he was fired, so that was after the game. You hear from a guy like Pop, and they stand with him. Even Mike Giardi of Boston Sports Journal putting out reports. Here were quotes in his report. Quote from a player, I lost faith where we were headed in the right direction. When, was asked. In the spring. Why? Felt like they were making it up as it went along. It was amazing how one day it would be this, then the next, something completely different. Another one from the Giardi report. It became more about looking myself in the mirror and the guys in the room in the huddle and saying, I'm leaving it out here for you because I never believed we had an edge in coaching.
Bruh.
So the players could be heard about it. Obviously, they have a connection to Drake Maye. They played for him. They've been with him since the summertime. But if that's it on game days, if that's what you see day to day, can't be too hurt. It's a tough business, and you got to do your job. What did Bill Belichick say? Do your job.
This is almost Shogana. Like, players don't care. They're hurt right now. Maybe some of them really believe in. This is nonsense. You know what players care about?
Yeah.
Winning and getting paid.
Yeah.
And not in that order. Let me reverse. Getting paid and winning. I mean, if you can get paid and win, great. That's what they care about. This players are so upset. BS. Listen, get over it. Okay, he's gone. Relax. Embrace the new guy. And if you can win, you'll be happy. All this Drake Maye, I can't take it anymore. From Kraft looking like he wants to cry to the players. Drake didn't get a... Please. I mean, it's all nonsense, George. They're acting like Drake Maye, like this was some long marriage. Bill Belichick was a real breakup. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You had memories, years, tears, mortgages, kids. Like, stuff mattered. Memories. Drake Maye was like a summer fling. Like, yeah, it was hot and heavy. It was great. We really believed that this would work. And then by the end of the summer, you're like, this isn't going to work. And guess what? By Christmas, you're in matching PJs with someone else. Like, get over it. I'm so sick of all this Drake Maye and the violin. Is a violin next? Please, get him out of here next. Can you win games? Yes. Boom. I'm in love again. Funny how that worked. I'm over the last one.
I've been with my fiance almost 3 years. You will never catch me dead at matching PJs. I can't imagine a turnaround like that. You go from summer fling breakup, by Christmas time you're doing matching PJs with the new fling.
That and you got matching PJs. No. I gave you the monologue of my life.
No, but you're spot on. That's the thing. And like, football is such a difficult sport, Trav.
Yes.
You get to play once a week.
Yes.
You're getting your ass kicked all spring. You don't have a summer, all summer. Fall's the best time of year, Trav. Holidays are the best time of year. Guess what you're doing? Watching film, working out, practicing, outside, getting your ass kicked. And then on Sundays, coaching isn't giving you a chance.
Right.
So I agree. The fling, I don't know what the fling was. Yeah. I don't even know if there was there. It's a summer fling you should never get into. Right. There's all those red flags.
But you do it anyway.
You know the X. You know Bill Belichick.
Yes.
And the X is like, yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
Stay away.
Yes.
And you're like, yeah, I'll give it a go anyway. You were warned.
You were warned.
You were forced on it.
You preaching right now.
Robert Kraft forced it on the players.
You preaching.
And look, in a tough sport, really cold, it's bottom line business. That's right, man. That summer fling can simmer out.
Yeah, man. I'm ready to move on and love again is what I'm ready to do.
I'm looking at a list of defensive coordinator candidates for the Patriots.
Yep.
Jim Leonard.
That's speaking to your soul.
We'll save that for another show.
That's speaking to your soul.
I watched that man up close in Wisconsin for a couple seasons.
Oh.
He's with the Broncos right now, secondary coach.
You got the inside scoop.
That's one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yeah, it is.
That's a guy that was taking 3-star players, 3-star recruits, having them compare with the 5 stars in the Big Ten.
They were always tough. That defense, always tough.
Taking guys like a Zach Bond, you're seeing play for the Eagles right now.
Mm-hmm.
He was an elite edge defender and pass rusher in college. Makes 0 sense.
Mm-hmm.
But Jim Leonard was making that happen.
Yeah, a lot of similarities. Madison and Foxborough, cold. Let's go, baby.
Played
I'm
for
with
the Jets. Hey, head coaching experience. Another one, though.
Yeah.
This one, I think he ends up with a Shanahan or a LaFleur, but Robert Saleh. Because what's important, and this is, we talked, all right, who's the offensive coordinator if you go with the Mike Vrabel?
Sure.
We'll save this for the next episode of Rush. Robert Saleh, 3.5 seasons of head coaching experience.
He got a raw deal.
Yes. That's what's important. For anyone that's worried about, well, if you bring in Ben Johnson, he's a rookie head coach. It's structure. It's who you surround them with.
That's right.
Someone like Robert Saleh, who has seen the worst of the worst when it comes to ownership, the BS he's dealt with as well.
Facts.
That's what's important. And he would get that now. So that's what I think is important in all this. So we'll talk defensive coordinators another episode. But now we'll bring on Lucy Burge giving us our best bets, best picks for Wildcard Weekend. But first, make sure, if you're enjoying this episode of Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, please like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. If you're watching on Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button as well. Leave a comment. Give us a thumbs up or bring the comments into the conversation. Also, make sure to follow Nesson on Instagram and X. We're putting out polls. We want to hear from you guys. 66% saying they want Mike Vrabel as head coach. We'll go over there and vote, and we'll bring it up on Rush. All right, now at Foxborough Rush, Lucy Burge of Odyssey. You could also catch her on BetQL, BetMGM as well. It's Wild Card Weekend, so we had to bring her back on the show to give us the best bets. But, Lucy, I want to start with the whole Gerard Mayo fired, Robert Kraft bringing down that cold hammer, the cold justice of business. What do you think of it as someone that's spent a lot of time in Boston and in New England, of how this all went down for the Patriots?
Yes, well, I will say I was not surprised by this happening. I did say a couple weeks ago, I said, you know what, he will not be the head coach. I was like, prediction, he will not be the head coach of the Patriots next season. Yeah. And lo and behold, he is not, but did not think it would happen this quickly. Like, the game ends, and then immediately, well, first of all, I had the Patriots to cover the spread, plus 3.5, because I figured they needed to lose that game, of course. They were going to mess this up, and they were going to play themselves out of
they royally messed it up.
They did. They messed it up. So, the events leading up to that game, like Jelani Tavai saying fans need to know their place and everything like that, there was just a very dark aura around the team.
Yeah.
And it felt very much like this was the end for Gerard Mayo. But for it to immediately happen, it really spoke volumes about when Robert Kraft made this decision, which he said in that press conference was months ago. But I think what sealed the whole thing was that they won that game. So first win for Gerard Mayo, Gatorade bath. Final game, also a win, fired. What a bookend dichotomy this season.
First game beat the Bengals. That ends up keeping Cincy out of the playoffs.
Right.
And that win
funny?
Kept the Patriots from the number 1 overall pick.
Crazy.
Isn't that funny how life
Take them
works?
to the hill, huh?
How life works.
Okay,
it's
so
amazing.
Gerard Mayo's old news, yesterday's paper. Let's talk about the new coach.
Yes.
Would you prefer Vrabes or Ben Johnson?
Ooh, your guy, Ben Johnson.
Well, yes.
Lions fan here.
Yeah, definitely. My guy, Ben Johnson, of course. However, for the Patriots, Vrabel, but with Antonio Pierce being fired, perhaps, could Tom Brady and the Raiders swoop in? And they hire Mike Vrabel away from Robert Kraft, who I think made this decision about Gerard Mayo
because of Mike Vrabel.
He saw, he's interviewing with the Jets. I need to take action here and not let this guy go, because what he said about Vrabel and like this could be our guy. He said this about Gerard Mayo where he didn't want to let him go. Mm-hmm. So and then he hired him, and look how that turned out. But I think this time they're going to interview Ben Johnson. They're going to interview more candidates, but I think Vrabel's the guy.
George, all the greats in any sport, all the GOATs are petty. Tom Brady, does he have a level of championship pettiness where he wants to swoop in and just screw the Patriots?
Can you imagine if Tom Brady hires Mike Vrabel for the Raiders, right?
Yes.
Imagine he does that, and then later that season, Robert Kraft is unveiling The Tom Brady statue?
I don't think there will be a statue. Perhaps he will halt construction of the statue.
Oh,
Should
man.
he do? And I don't think Brady would care. I think Brady has moved on. Brady,
Yeah.
I think Petty is not. Brady does not care. His ex-wife is having a baby with her jiu-jitsu instructor. I don't think he cares about anything else.
Patriots host the Raiders in 2025.
See?
That is okay. So could that
The
be
day you unveil Tom Brady's statue, Raiders are at Gillette.
Yep.
Mike Vrabel,
Vrabel
head
is
coach
the-
of the Raiders. Raiders beat the
Hey,
Patriots.
Whoever's making,
I'm chalking that up as a win right now.
Whoever's making
could
that
happen.
For the
statue,
Pats.
I hope it's not the person that did the sketch in the courtroom.
This
Keep
is
Or
that
the Cristiano
person-
Ronaldo statue.
Yes.
This is true.
yes.
This
Or the
is true.
Dwayne Wade statue.
That was also
All
really
these
bad.
people,
James
keep them
Earl
away
Jones.
from Brady's statue.
really bad. Also, alternate, perhaps this could happen where Brady, I don't know why he would do this, but it would be a little funny, like for comedy's sake. He hires Gerard Mayo as the head coach
No,
of the Raiders,
hold on,
and he
hold
was
on,
like,
hold on.
he's
Well,
like,
wait
you know
just
what?
a minute.
He's
Tom
like,
is serious about winning.
well, this is
And
okay.
nothing we
And
saw
Tom
from the
Brady
Patriots head
sits-
coach this last season leads to winning.
No, not at all. But he sits him down and he's like, you know what? We have to make the playoffs. Like, we are on a mission for spite. Seinfeld returning the suit for spite. He is hiring Gerard Mayo for spite. He's like, Brady was talented. This is
Well,
different.
Seinfeld, Gerard Mayo goes Costanza.
Oh.
Where Brady goes, what would you do? Gerard goes this, and he goes opposite.
Brady
I like
has
that.
the most hands-on involvement with the Raiders, and Gerard Mayo is the coach, but Brady is actually like behind all of it, and they make the playoffs, and the Patriots do not, perhaps, next season. So it would be getting back at Robert Kraft, but I think the better way to get back at Robert
Hire
Kraft,
Mike
if you're
Vrabel.
Tom Brady, is to hire Mike Vrabel. So.
I think it's a better, more conducive
It
towards
is,
overall healthy
but
winning and culture.
It would be a little, for conversation's sake, it'd be like, wait, what are you doing?
Would not
You'd
want
keep-
Gerard.
you would keep track of that team,
Look,
wouldn't you?
I just wouldn't want Gerard Mayo anywhere near my building. That's
No,
it.
that
Hey,
it would be a dark day, but it's sad.
we're talking 2026 playoffs in this scenario. Let's talk 2025.
Yeah. Yes.
Wild card weekend coming up. First game is, of course, Saturday, 4:30 kickoff. That'll be the Chargers and Texans, but
Yeah.
not talk about that game in particular. What's a bet you like coming up on this weekend?
Yes, I have a few bets that I love. for
Give me
this
your number
weekend.
one.
Okay, number one is Commanders +3. I
Yeah.
am all over Washington for this.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a close game. The
Yeah.
Buccaneers are averaging just one more point scored per game than the Commanders. So I
Mm-hmm.
think this will be a close game. As Todd Bowles admitted, the Commanders are a better team now than week one when the Buccaneers
Yeah.
beat them by quite a bit. So I think Commanders +3, I like that very much. I will say, going back and forth on that one because I had the Buccaneers to win the division and they did. And now I like the Commanders a bit more. I think with this being perhaps a close game,
Yeah.
2 points, 1 point, Commanders +3.
And we've seen Jaden Daniels in close games.
Yep.
Pull through clutch time,
Nails.
especially.
Yep.
So I like
Nails.
them catching through that field goal number.
Yep, I like that a lot. I also
Yep.
was going back. I've heard differing opinions on this one with it being such a big spread in this game, but I am landing on the Ravens -10 against the Steelers. Steelers have hit a bit of a skid. They have lost their last 4. The Ravens have won their last 4. So I am going to put my faith in the Ravens here to win.
Okay.
I'm going to say by 2 touchdowns. The Ravens win by 2 touchdowns over the Steelers, so I'm going to take -10.
I already know you have the Lions winning the whole shebang
I
bang.
do.
All I want to
The
know
whole
from
Super
you is who makes you nervous? Who holds your ticket in their hands? And you're like, oh, if the Lions play this team, they could be in trouble.
Yes. Well, in the NFC, so the NFC Championship game, the Eagles would make me a little bit nervous because they are, of course, very hot right now, and I do have them to cover -4.5 in this weekend. But when it comes to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs are just the team of destiny every year. Will they three-peat? There are times when you're like, yeah, of course they are. No matter what, no matter how there's a dip in the game and you're like, oh, maybe they won't win. They do. So the Chiefs, but my Super Bowl matchup is Bills-Lions. So the Bills
Little
make
exact,
me...
though.
Yes. So the Bills and a blue. The colors would both be blue. That's my
Yeah.
favorite color. So obviously I would love that. All of the logo would maybe not be blue, but the rest of the gear, like it would just be like a
Yeah.
sea of beautiful colors. Honolulu blue and then the Bills blue as well. But Josh Allen, not just the blue, but Josh Allen as well, very talented. And when you watch him play, you're like, how? If there was if there's any year for another team to take down the Chiefs, it's the Bills' year, and they can do it now. So
Yeah.
the Bills, I think, scare me right now a little bit more than the Chiefs do.
Wow.
Good D line too. I mean, the Chiefs'
Yes.
offensive line's terrible. And
Yep, that's
to
the
me,
thing.
eventually, like the football gods got to look down on you and be like, if you don't win at the line of scrimmage, especially offensive line wise, like you're not going to win. That's how Brady and the Buccaneers beat Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Shaq Barrett and all them boys were getting at him.
Awful offensive line by the Chiefs. So, all right, I like this. You have the teams that scare you. You talk about the Bills. You talk about the Eagles. You mentioned, of course, as well, going with the Commanders and that as a dog. What's one more game you got wild card weekend for?
Yes, so I have Eagles -4.5, and I like this a lot because I'm not worried about any concussion protocol for Hurts. I'm not worried about that. The Eagles are rolling. The Packers, during the season, you think, the Packers are pretty good. They're not so hot right now. They've lost their last two, and they haven't covered in their last two games. So Eagles -4.5 is my third bet for the weekend. So I'm excited about that one too.
Making money.
Eagles secondary is really good.
Yep.
And Jordan Love makes mistakes. You're a huge Jared Goff fan. I'm a huge Jordan Love fan.
Okay.
But what does Jared Goff do? Takes care of the football on top of making great decisions. Jordan Love isn't there yet. I like that. 4.5. A little steep of a number, but you know what?
That's the thing.
Maybe combine a little teaser action.
Could do that. Could very well do
George, do you have the Lions winning it? I don't even think
I
have
have Eagles.
You.
I have Eagles.
Okay, you have Eagles.
No
okay.
way. Okay.
This Aaron Glenn, man, good defensive coordinator. This Lions defense somehow keeps showing up.
Yeah.
But I just love the construct of the Eagles.
Okay.
All right.
Dude, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, 2 great tackles. You got a good run game. You have elite receivers. You have a good quarterback that has experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
Say what you want about it. I don't trust Nick Sirianni, but it's his Vic Fangio defense.
Okay.
They can rush 4. 2 good corners, play well on the back end.
Okay.
If you can get to the quarterback or get the job done, only bringing 3 or 4, that helps.
Well,
and like the Eagles have the experience, man.
You already know this about me. I have a Lions ticket.
You're nervous
Both
about
of
it.
you know, and
Lions.
I am the opposite of Lucy. I am nervous about everyone.
I am scared that the Lions are going to lion in the sense that sometimes they do kind of fall apart, and you're like, wait, where was the team like against the Bills, and where was the team that showed up in other games that they played better and they looked like great. However, every year they get a little bit better. So this could be the year that they finally get through, and Dan Campbell's Lions make it.
The one thing I give the Lions, it's the teams that failed the year before learned from it and moved forward. Dan Campbell learned something in that second half against the 49ers
Yes, he did.
last year in the NFC Championship game. Hopefully applies in the big moments we've seen throughout the season. Something special about the offense. The defense worries me. So.
Yes, well, that was one of the reasons, too, why the thinking that, Gerard Mayo will be back next season is because Dan Campbell, as a rookie head coach, was not so great.
Yeah.
But that cited those, and then there was a stark turn where it's like, nope, Gerard Mayo's gone.
Well, and Dan Campbell was coaching 2010 up to, when was his first season? 2021?
Yes.
He had interim experience, associate head coach experience.
He had
a lot of experience.
And this is why
Gerard didn't have it, and that matters.
Vrabel would be perfect because
a lot of
circling back to that
11 years in the NFL.
They better hire someone with experience.
And he's a Patriot, damn it.
He's a Patriot.
The Patriot way.
Right.
She's Lucy Burge. He's Travis Thomas. Lucy, thanks for coming back on Foxborough Rush. Always good having you. Good luck to your Lions as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure, wherever you get your podcasts, please like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. And if you're watching on Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button as well. That's all for Foxborough Rush. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, everyone.